Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and we're here on Thursday, July 2nd, at the beautiful Willson Woods Pool Complex in the city of Mount Vernon. This area is very familiar to me. I remember coming here as a young boy many years ago, and I'm happy to be back as we get ready to open this pool for the season this weekend. I'm here with a number of other individuals who are going to share a few thoughts about the Independence Day weekend that we're just on the cusp of. I'm sure you all know by now that Friday is going to be the legal holiday where we celebrate Independence Day. We commonly call it the 4th of July, but officially Independence Day. And so our three-day weekend begins at the end of today's workday with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then all of us back on work on Monday for the usual routine. I'm joined here by two elected officials that will be speaking in a few minutes. Mayor Shawyn Patterson-Howard, the mayor of the city of Mount Vernon, will be talking with us, and Westchester County Legislator Lyndon Williams, who has represented the city of Mount Vernon for a number of years in the county legislature. And I'm both happy to have them here, not only to speak, but also as our partners in government as we step up to the plate for a few different things. Let me begin first with the numbers, as we always do. Our Westchester County coronavirus update, for which this is in the 2 o'clock hour. For today, we have the numbers that have come in from the state New York tracker, Department of Health tracker. We have 275,161 tests for COVID to date in Westchester County. That's 27.5% of our population. There are some duplicate tests in there, but they're really an insignificant percentage of the total. So if it isn't 27.5, it's 27.1 or 2. Fundamentally, we've tested almost 30% of the population. We expect probably by late next week, we'll be at a third of our population, 33. We'll be up to 330,000 tests, and that would be 33% of our population, one-third of Westchester residents tested for COVID. Right now, we have 503 active cases, and you may note that is an increase over the last couple of days. We tested 46 more positive individuals yesterday out of a testing base of 4,500 tests. So that is slightly above 1% of all the people tested that tested positive. And year to date, really year beginning March 1st, slightly more than 4 months ago, we're at a point now where about 87% of all the people that have tested for COVID have tested negative. 13% have tested positive, but we are at a higher number of active cases because the number of people that have tested positive overnight have exceeded the number of people that cleared the 2-week incubation period. So there is a slight increase in the number of active cases at 503. We're still very comforted that that is a low number. At its peak, it was 12,000 active cases back at the end of March and the beginning of April. We had one death overnight, bringing our total to 1,426 individuals who passed away from COVID. Over the last month now, on nightly fatality totals, we have had 1, 2, 3, or none. We had none the night before last, which is obviously the target that we have for every night. But we've come a long way from those nights where we were losing in the 30, 40, and 50 numbers of people overnight. So we view that as a very reasonable number. The positive tests that we have include the Chappaqua spike that has been noted from the high school activities that date back to June 20th. We're monitoring not just the number of infections that increase, but the geographical distribution of them. And what would concern us most is if we saw a systematic increase all across the county. If we saw a spike in Yonkers and a spike in Peekskill, a spike in Mount Vernon, and a spike in Somers and North Salem. If we're seeing it in an isolated situation that can be tracked to a particular incident, that's one thing that can be dealt with. If we see it universally across the board, that could represent a resurgence of the infection, and that, of course, would be the greater problem that would require more broad-based action. As we stand today, we believe we're continuing our path toward opening on Tuesday to Phase 4. That will open up some additional areas of the economy. However, we are prepared to deal with whatever the numbers show us. And if the numbers show us that we backslide dramatically, as you've seen in New York City, as you've seen in some states around the country, then we'll be prepared to accept not opening certain things or even closing things that are open now. It's not our preference. We hope to continue to open the economy, but it is the information on the ground that will make those decisions and not any predetermined notion. At this point, the numbers that we see still represent what we think are a good set of numbers. Right now, as we're dealing with these issues going into Independence Day, we will once again have an Independence Day that's very different from most of our other celebrated holidays. We've gone through Memorial Day a little over a month ago, very different Memorial Day. We were not able to have the parades or even the serious ceremonies that mark reflecting those who've given their life for us on Memorial Day in the armed services. We had religious holidays, whether Ramadan, Passover, or Palm Sunday and Easter, which were not able to hold at the same level. We've just gone through the graduation cycle for high schools and colleges, not the same as before. And we're facing now, as we go into the summer, a summertime month period where we are impacted by COVID, so we cannot see the normal opening of the society. We have already announced that we are canceling fireworks on July 3rd, which would have happened at Kensico, July 4th at Playland. We announced earlier this week that Playland Amusement Park will be closed for the season. A very difficult decision to make, as I've stated the last few days. I'm here now in a place that I attached to my childhood, and I think about how happy I was to come to Wilson Woods when I was a young boy, how happy I was to go to Playland when I was a young boy. We make decisions, however, based on what is practical. We have determined, with the help of our parks professionals who are here, Kathy O'Connor, our Commissioner of Parks, Recreation and Conservation, Peter Tartaglia, our first Deputy Commissioner of Parks, Recreation and Conservation, that it was not really realistically possible for us to open Playland. However, it is realistically possible for us to open up our county pools here at Wilson Woods coming up tomorrow, and also at Tibbetts Brook Park in Yonkers tomorrow. Last weekend, we opened up Saxon Woods in White Plains, and we opened up the Sprain Ridge Complex, where there are two pools in Yonkers. Now, there are a lot of changes that go on with these modifications. At some of the pools that we opened already, there's no aqua playground at Saxon Woods Pool. There's no aqua splash pad at Sprain Ridge Pool. Here at Wilson Woods, there will be no waves in the wave pool or at the aqua playground splash pad here. And at Tibbetts Brook, which opens tomorrow, no lazy river tubes, aqua playground, water slides, or a basketball court. And these are part of the summertime enjoyment. We're not closing them because we're mean-spirited people. We know that they bring a lot of joy to kids. However, they are difficult to sanitize, they're difficult to socially distance, and we're concerned that the natural closeness when you enjoy a recreational facility will overcome some of the social distancing and some of the things that we have to do if we want to diminish the spread. And we're seeing right now across the country an example of what happens when the spread remains unchecked. It may be true to say that when we had our initial jump in detection cases back with the index patient over in New Rochelle, we didn't have the full scope of what we were facing, but we know the full scope of it now. And as you see numbers in places like Florida and Texas that are jumping up dramatically, we know what those represent and what they will lead to in terms of illness and fatality. We have to avoid that here. New York State and Westchester County Department of Health have regulations, 50% maximum occupancy. 50%, not 100%. If you came here at 100% occupancy, you would see lots of folks happily enjoying this wonderful facility, but it will be reduced to 50%. The pools will be first come, first serve entry with 2 public pool sessions throughout the day. You have to note that, 2 separate sessions, a morning session, an afternoon session, or a morning midday session, an afternoon session, and where people might come and spend the whole day at the pool. We will empty out the pool after the first session, and then we will have people come in for the second session. They are distinct wristbands that will involve that. 11 to 2 is the morning session. Then 2 to 3, there'll be a cleaning and disinfectant period. Every one of these surfaces you see that have metal attached to it or other surfaces will be cleaned and disinfected to make sure that there's no presence of COVID on those surfaces. And they'll be done in that period from 2 to 3. The session 2 opens at 3 o'clock, goes on to 6 o'clock. And then there'll be another hour of cleaning and disinfectant from 6 to 7. This is a lot of work for the Parks Department and the Health Department, which provides advice and some assistance in these things. This is the professionals in the county government doing what can be done so that we can open the pool. And we want the pool open. You can feel how warm it is today and how kids will want to be in, and adults will want to be in this pool. And to make it available to them are 4 county pools that will be opened over the weekend now, the 2 beaches that we opened a month ago. These are important recreational facilities to provide relief for our population to provide it as safely as we can, and so therefore the different rules are in place. When Session 1 tickets are sold out, Session 2 tickets will go on sale to remaining patrons. What does that mean? If you show up here hoping to be in here from 11 to 2, and we've reached the maximum number of tickets, you won't be able to be in here from 11 to 2. You would have to buy a ticket for Session 2, which won't begin until 3 o'clock. You may have some disgruntled people who arrived at, for the sake of argument, 12 noon, hoping to get in, and they'll find that all the tickets for this session has been sold, and they'll have to wait for 3 o'clock. We tell you that publicly now so you know what the information is, and our friends in the media are reporting this, and we hope that you watch their television stations and you read their newspapers so that you will be informed. We can't get a message to every single person in the county except through public media, and the public media reports the fact that this is how we're going to have to manage our inventory so that we meet the standards that were set by the state and our own county health department, and that we also meet the standards of practicality so that we can remain a safe place to go. When Session 2 tickets are sold out, no more tickets will be sold for that day. If you get here for the sake of this discussion at 3:15 and for some reason all of the Session 2 tickets are sold out, there will be no more tickets sold out at that point of the day. There's no rain checks, there's no re-entry, and there's no refunds. So you should understand that. We're not doing that, as I said before, to be mean. We're doing that to protect that we can stay under the capacity that we have so that people can enjoy this safely. County Department of Public Safety, represented here. We're going to speak to Captain Jim Luciano in a second. And the County Parks Department staff will be posted at entrances to inform guests if the session is sold out prior to their parking, so that they won't park and come in and then find out that it's gone. Some folks have asked us to have an elaborate electronic means for making reservations here. That system is not in place as of today. If we're able to do something like that in the future, we will, but for the moment it's not in effect. So you need to know in advance what happens when you come here. By all means, if you're watching this, do not drive by and just drop the kids off not knowing whether they have a ticket or not. That would be a big mistake. Make sure that when you come, if you're driving young people here and you're not planning to stay with them, that you wait to find out that they do in fact have tickets that will allow them entry. And if it's early in the day and there are no Session 1 tickets and you're waiting to Session 2, understand they could be stuck here for a couple of hours before they enter and exit 3. You'd be better off knowing that, buying the tickets, and then using time productively before you come back to drop the kids off. We want to make sure you understand what the situation is before you wind up engaging in this. Park staffs will make an announcement every half hour reminding guests to use all proper social distancing guidelines. Guests must wear a mask or face covering anytime they are closer than 6 foot from any other guest. If you are here with your family, or whatever group of people you've traveled with, say you're on a blanket in an appropriate area or clustered together, you decide to go to the restroom, you decide to go across the other side of the pool, a concession stand perhaps, or to go to first aid, you must put your mask on because you're going to come in contact with other people that are not part of your group that you're sitting on the, on the blanket with. Obviously, we do not expect you to wear it when you're in the pool. We do expect you to wear it when you enter the restrooms because you will be in contact with other people, and it's important for you to do everything you can to reduce the stress. We are not opening Playland Pool this year. We made that announcement a couple of weeks ago. The Playland Pool is ineligible for opening by New York state law. They've made the decision that if a swimming pool is near a beachfront, the beach opens, the pool does not. Separate and distinct from that, we have already put in motion Board of Legislators approval to have a complete reconstruction of Playland Pool. We're hoping to start on that as soon as we can so that when we get to next year and the pool season opens next year, that Playland Pool would be able to open for 2021. We don't have an exact timeline yet, but that is something that's important. I repeat this every day, how important it is to wear a mask, socially distance, sanitize. Bring hand sanitizer with you so that you can sanitize your hand. You can certainly wash them in the restrooms, but it's much easier if you have hand sanitizer with them. These are rules and regulations that are in effect not to restrict your personal freedom, but to protect you and others from this disease advancing. If I wear a mask, now right now I'm a good distance from everybody who's here. If I wear a mask, I'm protecting you from anything that I might have that might infect you. When you wear a mask, you're protecting me from whatever you might have, whether you know you have it or not. Many times people who have COVID are asymptomatic, meaning they don't show symptoms of it. If you're young enough, I guess in general, healthy enough, you might have it. You might not know you have it, and you could still infect other people. And depending on their immune system, wherever they are in their health situation, they could be affected by getting COVID. And that is what we're trying to avoid in all of this. Now, because this is the 4th of July weekend, Independence Weekend, there are lots of things that are happening. We're looking at enforcing our DWI laws. We're looking at some practical safety practices to show over the course of the weekend. And we'd like to have two of our professionals come up and talk to you. Captain Jim Luciano of the County Department of Public Safety, routinely called the County Police, has an expertise in a host of different areas. He's worked in different parts of the county policing operation. I might see him working with the Marine units that we have. We call it our Navy, on both the Sound Shore and on the Hudson River side, and perhaps our helicopter crew, which we call our Air Force. But Captain Luciano is a professional, and he's going to be here to share with you a little bit about the DWI enforcement efforts that are going to be made through the holidays. So, Captain James Luciano, would you please join us and share a little bit of information for all of the folks in the community?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. County Executive. Well, good weather is predicted for the weekend. So we want all our county residents, visitors, and guests to enjoy what Westchester has to offer. The county police will be providing extra staff throughout our roadways, our contracted municipalities, parks, pools, and beach areas to ensure safe and secure recreating by all that attend. We will have, like I said, extra patrols out on the roadway for driving while intoxicated enforcement, which we're very strict about. As the county executive mentioned, our Marine Patrol, we will have extra patrols out there. We'll have 2 boats assigned to the Hudson River and a boat assigned to the Long Island Sound. And it just happens to be the National BWI, not to be confused with DWI, Boating While Intoxicated. It's a national program called Operation Dry Water, which we're going to work in conjunction with the United States Coast Guard and some other municipal partners, where we're looking to enforce the navigation law. So just so people are aware, those carry the same penalties as driving while intoxicated. Although it doesn't affect your driver's license on the water, those fines, the fingerprintable offense, the photographs are still the same, and it's the same threshold as 0.08% in regards to that. One thing to keep in mind with Independence Day celebration is fireworks. Just to remind everyone, I'm sure they know, but fireworks are illegal in New York State, consumer fireworks. Commercial fireworks only allowed by those that possess the necessary licenses. Westchester has opted out of the ground sparklers or handheld sparklers provision of the law, which allows counties to allow it. If so, Westchester opted out in 2018 due to an increase in injuries with our youth. So those are illegal to utilize as well. We remind you that if you come across any fireworks, do not touch them. Contact your local police department. And something to realize, that the inherent danger of the fireworks is that the local police departments contact our hazardous devices unit, which is also known as our bomb squad, where we have our certified bomb technicians travel to different municipalities and retrieve these fireworks because they're inherently dangerous. So we want people to be mindful of that. They are illegal. And like I said, if they're found, please contact your local police department for the necessary handling of same. Want everybody to have a good time. We'll have additional police, like I said, to ensure the safety and security of our residents, visitors, and guests. And I hope everybody has a happy Independence Day.
Thank you very much, Captain. And as he pointed out, Westchester chose to opt out when given that option by the state on sparklers. And that was done at the advice of the various fire departments in Westchester County. The fire professionals volunteer and professional departments indicated that they had seen many accidents from that. And so that was the decision that was made by the Board of Legislators and myself as county executive to protect individuals with proper safety. So we thank Captain Luciano. Next, I'm going to ask Patrick Quinn to join us here. He is a professional on the Department of Health. That department of county government, more so than any other, has been working double time over the course of the last few months during this pandemic. We have county health department professionals, nurses that have been out in the field doing COVID testing. We've had county Department of Health officials certifying the various pools around the county to make sure that they're able to be open now that the state has given authority to open municipal pools, town and city pools, as well as private pools. So Patrick is part of a department that has really shown anybody who's paying any attention what the value of county government is, and they're a department of professionals. They do their job without complaint and with great professionalism. So Patrick, thank you for joining us, and please share some thoughts about safety over the course of the weekend.
Thanks very much, County Executive. So there's a lot of new regulations with the social distancing at the pools, but I want to go over things that the health department's been reminding people for years, some sun safety tips to make your day at the pool this weekend on July 4th weekend as enjoyable as possible, but as safe as possible and as healthy as possible. So number one is you want to protect your skin from the sun. I know there's a lot going on and you are thinking about social distancing, but you want to remind yourself, you know, the basics. Put on sunscreen. The sunscreen that you're going to choose would have an SPF of 15 or higher, and you want to have it that it's protection against UV rays, UVA and UVB rays. You want to follow the directions that are written on the container, but in general you want to follow certain guidelines. You want to reapply it every 2 hours. If you're going to be physically active, or you're swimming, or you're sweating a lot, you're toweling off, you want to make sure that you reapply the sunscreen. If you wear insect repellent, you want to make sure you put the sunscreen on first and then the insect repellent. And again, follow the guidelines. Even if today is a nice, beautiful, sunny day, but even if it's cloudy, you can get ultraviolet rays. So you want to make sure you wear protection when it's sunny out. You want to put on the sunscreen at least 20 minutes before you go out into the sun, give you enough protection. Make sure you put it on yourself. Make sure your family members also have it on. And again, reapply it if you feel it's coming off. Some other things that are important to do is it can get very hot, and you can sometimes lose track of how hot you are when you're in the pool. You can sweat and perspire in the pool. So you want to make sure that you seek out the shade. There are some shaded areas here or wherever you are, especially in the midday. If you're physically active, you want to take breaks from the physical activity. If you have kids, you want to definitely check on them. Kids, you know, they've been at home, they've been self-schooling, and they're normally bursting with energy, but definitely with more energy now. So you want to make sure that they take a break. That's a good time to rehydrate. Of course, they're not going to want to take a break. When you do rehydrate, you want to drink water. Try to stay away from drinks that contain caffeine or alcohol or sugary drinks. They can you know, they dehydrate you. You can even have a healthy snack like a piece of fruit. It's a good way to hydrate yourself. Wearing what you wear is also important. You want to make sure you wear clothing that is comfortable, it's loose, it's lightweight, light colored. That'll help you keep cooler. If you have a hat, you want to wear a hat that's ventilated. Even with a hat with a large brim on yourself, can protect you. It can protect your back of your neck, your shoulders. It can provide a lot of protection. And what you want to do also is that you want to make sure that when you come to the pool, you know, the new regulations that are in place, that you, as the county executive was mentioning, you want to keep your distance, wear face masks when you have to. There are going to be reminders here. We would even recommend bringing a few extra face masks, as you would like a pair of clothing to the pool area. Things get wet. You know, your face mask might get wet too, so you want to make sure you have a few extra just in case you need them for you, for yourself, for the kids. And again, make sure everybody's hydrating, wearing sunscreen, and making the proper protections to make it as most enjoyable as it possibly can. And we wish everybody a happy July 4th weekend. Want you to have a lot of fun. You deserve to have a lot of fun. It's been a crazy time, but also be very safe and healthy at the same time. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Patrick also intended to mention, do not wear a heavy sports jacket in the middle of the summertime, in the middle of the sun. I didn't get the memo, so maybe next time I'll be a little smarter about it. We have two very popular and talented public officials that are here. I'd like to give them the opportunity, since we're in their backyard, to say a few words. Lyndon Williams is the Westchester County Legislator who represents this district. He has served in board leadership over the years, chairs a committee right now. I've known him since his days as a member of the City Council in Mount Vernon as well, and we've worked together a number of projects, and he is a strong advocate for Mount Vernon issues. He is probably the single most outspoken member of the Board of Legislators for investment in this city, the Memorial Field project and other projects. He's a friend, and even when we disagree, we maintain a strong friendship and a great mutual respect. So, Legislator Lyndon Williams, please come over and share a few thoughts here on this warm day.
Thank you, County Executive. I am delighted to be here today, sunny and nice. First, let me commend our Parks Department. They continue to do a great job, as well as the Department of Health and our Public Safety Department. We are in a process. We're in New York where we can look at opening things, opening parks and pools, opening restaurants, but we have to do that carefully. We were in the midst of the storm not so long ago, while other states were not even close to the level of infections and death rates as we have. But we've moved along. We've improved. We have done better as a state and as a county and as a city here in Mount Vernon. But we've done so because we have taken precautions. We have made good decisions. And we must continue along that road if we're going to be successful. And I know that Willson Woods is a great open space for our city and for our county. And I know that many of my constituents enjoy this facility and will continue to enjoy this facility. But I know that even though we are opening, we have to do so and cut back on some of the great activities we have, but we do that to reduce the risk of infection, to reduce the risk of harm. Mount Vernon area we're in is one of the most densely populated areas in the state of New York and in the country. And so people naturally look for open space. Willson Woods and Memorial Field are the largest single open spaces in the city of Mount Vernon, which is 4.2 square miles, with, I would say, 100,000 people residing in. And so they look forward to having the time to go out to a pool like this, to a facility like this, to enjoy it during the summertime. And I think that, County Executive, I think that what we're doing here is making it possible for some of that to happen, but also taking into account that we have to make sure that we are smart about it. And I want to also say to the residents of Mount Vernon that as you come to Willson Woods this weekend, as the county executive said, it's not going to be what it always is or what you're used to. But we're not in normal now. We're in a different normal. And so you might have a situation where you might get in and other situations that you might not get in. But be patient and understand that if you get here early, you have a greater chance of getting in. Most importantly, wear the mask. Do as much distancing as you are required to. Follow the instructions, because there are going to be instructions around here that tells you what to do. And I look forward to us having a nice summer, not as enjoyable as we normally have, but yet a summer that we actually can turn around and say, you know, we were in the midst of a COVID-19 storm. We were having difficulty, but nevertheless, in Westchester County, we were able to go to our county pool and enjoy have some good times there. And so, thank you all thank all the departments. Thank you, County Executive. And I know our mayor is coming up, who is she has been doing a fantastic job, a great partner, fantastic job. And I know that she appreciates all that the county is trying to do to make these facilities available to our residents. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Lyndon. And our last speaker is the mayor of the city of Mount Vernon. She was elected last November as the first woman, African-American woman, but woman at all, to become elected mayor of the city of Mount Vernon. That's a great accomplishment, and the great accomplishment is really ahead of her as she's working very hard to make this city thrive. It is a city that has had its problems and issues over the years, and the county is trying our best to be good partners to the city of Mount Vernon, but that really depends on the leadership of Mayor Shawyn Patterson-Howard and the members of the City Council. We do, by the way, want to shout out to Lisa Copeland, who we know is just going through a little medical procedure. She's going to be back stronger than ever. Lisa, we hope you're on the mend. To the other members of the council, we want to extend our best wishes and invite to the microphone in her community the Honorable Mayor Shawyn Patterson-Howard.
Thank you so much, County Executive Latimer. So the County Executive, the entire County of Westchester government, Parks Department, Department of Health, Public Safety, and all of the other divisions of county government have been incredible partners to Mount Vernon in these past 6 months that I've been here. So thank you so much. You know, we are really excited that Willson Woods and Willson Waves is going to be opening, even though it will not be the wave park this summer. Just less than 90 days ago, Mount Vernon was experiencing the apex of our COVID experience. We had 164 positive cases just in one day on April 6th. And so now, almost 90 days later, as we stand with less than 43 active cases here in the city of Mount Vernon, we're proud of the work that we've been able to do. But while we're proud of the work that we've been able to do, we cannot rest on our laurels. We're excited that the pool is opening, but as it's already been stated by our county executive, by our county legislator, by our Department of Health, we have to stay vigilant. So we want people to come out and enjoy themselves and have a great time, because everyone has quarantine fatigue. That's something we spoke about yesterday, that people have quarantine fatigue. And while we understand that, as we come out, as we reopen our community, as we reopen our recreational facilities, so that we can have an opportunity to experience a good time and have some social and emotional recreation and really good times, we have to stay vigilant. So please remember to wear your masks, to bring your hand sanitizer, to continue to socially distance, because we want to be able to continue to open up in a way that is responsible, in a way that will help stir our economy, but in a way that takes into the full account of our public health. Because if we don't have our public health, then our economy and our ability to do these type of things is diminished. So, County Executive, thank you. For having the forethought and working with your incredible team to take extraordinary precautions and measures to ensure the safety of our community. But now we're asking the community to take those same precautionary measures and make sure that we as community residents are good partners in ensuring the health of not only our homes, but our entire community. So as it's been stated, there are 2 sessions that will happen from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. is the first session. Admission is $4. They will sanitize from 2 to 3, and then the second session will be from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So as it's also been stated already, please make sure, parents, when you're bringing your kids, that you don't just drop them off, that you make sure they're able to gain entry. We don't want children to be sitting around for hours unsupervised waiting for entry to the park, because that is not a good recipe for anything. And we're just excited. So we're asking people to please enjoy your Independence weekend. Barbecue at your homes in a socially distant way. Please know that all of the county parks, you can't have any barbecuing, right? So while the pool is open, the barbecue pits here at Wilson Woods are not open. And whatever you do, maintain social distance, keep your masks, and make sure that you're bringing sanitizer. We want to keep our public health strong. We want to keep our numbers down, and we can do this together. I trust in Mount Vernon. I trust in our county. Let's make this happen, and let's maintain our health. So thank you again, and have a great one.
Okay, we'll open it up to questions before we make some closing comments. Samantha Crawford, News 12, 2 days in a row. Thank you for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. What steps and safety recommendations would you give to families that are hosting barbecues or parties over the weekend?
Well, I think what Patrick and Captain Luciano both pointed out can fall into the category of common sense actions, things that we sort of know that we should be doing all the time. And as most adults do, once we are familiar with doing something, we start taking little shortcuts and little things that make us forget to be diligent. The unwatched barbecue pit, the unwatched pool if there's one in your home. Tragedies come very quickly, even when we think we're being diligent, but we're really not. We're just running inside for something, and we're forgetting something that could then become a takeaway difficulty. I think it's important, the issues that they've discussed to make sure that when you're preparing food that we do, again, common sense. We know that, we can't eat raw meats. We have to make sure they're properly cooked. Those things are important. And then I also think that, because we are dealing with the pandemic at the same time we're dealing with normal safety, it's just a higher sense of awareness. Again, I think, younger people, certainly kids, would not be aware of that. In the teenage years, they're aware of it, but not always, disciplined enough to deal with it. So they rely on those of us as adults to show good judgment, to be observant, and we'll get through this weekend as we have other weekends enjoying ourselves. I'll highlight one more time the fireworks issue. And I saw examples when I was young of people shooting off illegal fireworks. I didn't think anything of it at the time, but there's great danger. And I have more than one person I've gotten to know over the years that lost fingers and had real problems that developed because they did those things. We don't have the normal fireworks to direct people to this year. That's one of the sacrifices we're making for COVID. We believe, every one of us believes, that in time, whatever time that it's going to take, this society will be back to what we recall as of normal. We'll be able to celebrate and enjoy each other's company in the traditional ways. But for right now, we have to show discipline so we can get through this experience in all of these different areas. And I think that's what it is, Samantha. It's common sense. It's things that we kind of know we should be doing. We just have to remember to do it diligently. Very good. Catherine Chaffee, you may have some questions for us remotely. Well, I think this is going to be difficult because usually 4th of July is not just a holiday weekend, but it's the beginning of the summertime. People, sort of feel now they're going into that summertime vacation-y type mode, and they tend to drop some of the reserve that we have, certainly in the winter when this started, the end of the winter, beginning of the spring. So I do think that it's a constant battle. We've gotten more than our share of reports of lack of social distancing in lots of settings. From a strict legal standpoint, Captain Luciano, the team that he's on under the direction of Commissioner Sheriff Tom Gleason, have to police our parks, have to police our parkways, and then of course we have Village of Mount Kisco, some other discrete responsibilities. We know that some percentage of people are not wearing masks. If it's 20%, if it's 15%, if it's 25%, whatever that is, we've encouraged them to enforce with an eye to compliance rather than enforce for discipline purposes. We know that some jurisdictions, Rockland County most recently indicated they're going to be giving out tickets and really trying to enforce with a more aggressive hand. We haven't given that direction to our police. We believe they can size up situations on their own. They'll know whether or not people will respond properly or recalcitrantly. We know that our Parks Department is not expected to do a police function. They are expected to do an informational function. And so they can tell people, please wear your mask. If it looks like confrontation is at hand, that's not what we expect them to deal with. And at some point in time, we'll deal with the issue on the ground as is possible. We get reports all the time about Parks Department individuals and some police individuals that may not be practicing social distancing properly, and more importantly, masks. The commissioners, both Commissioner O'Connor and Commissioner Sheriff Gleason, have reminded their staff as we go into this weekend that we have to show the proper role modeling. We have to put the masks on as the police and the Parks Department officials, and we know they've made that message again to their people. There'll be examples of it not working. What we encourage people who attend any of our parks to do, if they see someone who is not wearing a mask or socially distancing, don't confront the individual yourself. Go to a Parks Department personnel, point it out. I know you're ratting them out. You don't have to make it a personal pointing them out. Just alert Parks Department personnel. Parks Department personnel will determine if it can be done amicably, with or without the police presence. If it requires the police presence, we will. And then, as we do in any situation, if it does ramp up in some place, the police will know exactly how to handle it. We have reliance on them. And this is difficult because we're at a time where there's a lot of discussion about police reform and policing, and we don't want to anticipate more conflict than necessary. So I've encouraged for something like this to use their judgments, use the persuasive touch to the proper extent, and we know they're professionals. They'll do the best that they can in those situations.
Are the parking spaces related to the amount of people that are
Well, the capacity in here has a number based. If a car shows up with a car full of people, we might have X number of cars in the parking lot that could generate 3, 4, 5 times the number of people. Oftentimes, the Parks Department in certain settings will shut off the parking if they feel that the capacity has been reached. It's a judgment call, and sometimes at a certain hour, it's not necessary. At another hour, it is. You could make the assumption that in 11 to 2, by 1 o'clock, everybody who was coming to the 11 o'clock session has already come. So we might see some diminution, and then it'll peak up for the start of the 3 o'clock. The Parks Department has, with the work of the Public Safety Department, shut down parking lots. That routinely happens at Kensico Dam. It happens at Ward Pound Ridge. Before we closed Croton Gorge Park, it happened at Croton Gorge routinely. So it's a judgment call made by the people on the ground. I have confidence that the right decisions will be made. If for some reason one of the decisions made wasn't accurate, we left it open or we shut it off too soon, we'll have that discussion after the weekend is over and try to learn from whatever our experiences are. We no doubt will make some mistakes. Yes, Bicycle Sunday is on, and this is the beginning of a period through the summertime where Bicycle Sunday was not normally on, but we've kept it on for the weekends of July and August. And I must say that did not happen by itself. The generosity of the Westchester Parks Foundation, the generosity of Con Edison, and the generosity of the Moriarty family were critical in being able to maintain Bicycle Sundays. So where we have lost certain elements of our recreation, no playland, no ethnic festivals, we're trying to compensate that wherever we think we can. Bicycle Sundays, drive-in movies at both Kensico and Playland, and other options to make the best of the situation that we're given. Any other questions from any of our friends in the press? Yes, Catherine. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that effectively, Catherine. You could just... I think we've been effective to the greater extent by awareness. I think what happens is you see the exceptions, and the exceptions stand out. And so obviously we get reports. I know behind the mask Kathy is smiling because we communicate all weekend, Peter as well, and we'll hear an incident and then I'll say I heard this from this constituent, report it back. People will see the exception that breaks the rule. They won't necessarily look around and say, oh, 75, 80% of the people are following it. Why, look, 20% isn't. And most people don't make the calculation by percentage. They say, these people are not wearing a mask. These people are in too close to the cover. You must do something about it. So I think the general response of doing this with information rather than with heavy-duty enforcement is the right strategy. We've talked to our leaders of the police department, public safety department. We've left the judgment up to them, but we have not given them the direction that other places had to say, go in there, write a ticket, because, I've been inside this pool. I know the human dynamics, and the human dynamics of the moment are more important than whatever I think as a policy sitting on the 9th floor of the county office building during the week, and somebody is out here dealing with it in the real world on Saturday afternoon at 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm going to rely on the professionalism of the parks and the police department to handle the 3:30 in the afternoon circumstance. If we see at the end of the weekend, when it's all said and done, that we need to change our direction of enforcement, we'll have that discussion, we'll make that decision, but we'll make it with the professionals of the police department, and I might add, not by those of us who are in governmental or, if you would, political leadership who are responding to whatever the provocation might be at the moment. We think we're getting substantial compliance, and I think the proof of the pudding is in the fact that our numbers have continually dropped. Now, we've had a couple of days now, there's been a little uptick in the number of positives, but look at the scope from mid to late April, certainly by the beginning of May. We opened Bicycle Sunday. We opened the golf course. We opened the beaches. Now we're opening the pools. Every time we made that decision, somebody said, oh my God, you're going to increase the spread. Oh, how could you do that? It's so dangerous. One person said, you're going to have blood on your hands because you've opened up Bicycle Sunday because of the expansion of the spread. Well, those things didn't happen. They didn't happen because we were lucky. They didn't happen because we were thoughtful. And Kathy and Peter and their team sat down, looked at each of these pools, and each one is a little bit different. Each one gets a different dynamic of people and how they flow through the facility, and they put together plans that they think made sense. Sometimes they push back and they say, don't have to do this. Try it again. See the best you can do, because we want to have this facility open. We want to have that facility open. And we think to the greater extent our decisions have proven to be true. Having said that, if this weekend turns out to be a disaster, if we find out that our pools, and for that matter our beaches or any of our other facilities, become unmanageable, and if that's the circumstance we have, we'll close the facility. Don't want to do it, don't plan to do it, will do it if the circumstances on the ground dictate it. But those circumstances will be determined by what Captain Luciano and his colleagues tell us, what the Parks Department personnel tell us, and then we'll make a rational decision. But for right now, we think we're doing the right thing. We think it'll work just as it's worked for the last 2 months, frankly, and we think we're showing the right balance here. We look at the project, we close what we think we have to close, we keep open what we have to keep open, we do it within the guidelines of the state, we monitor the numbers, we monitor the implementation, and we go forward in a rational way. Any other questions? We're good? And I'm not going to keep you out in the sun any longer. But we thank you for coming. We hope that anyone who's watching will enjoy our pools and our beaches, any of our parks, and we hope that as you enjoy this, you realize that we're trying very, very hard as an administration of this government to have you enjoy as much as we can, even as we fight this virus. So I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive. Thank you for your time. Have a terrific Independence weekend. Be safe with you and your family. We will see you on Monday for the next update, which will be our final planned update, and then after that we'll go to phase 4 and we'll communicate as necessary. Thank you all. Be safe.